Example 6. If the midpoint of the line segment is negative 1, 5, right away I'm just going to write down or denote this as M because it's my midpoint. One of the endpoints of my line segment has coordinates 3, negative 11. I'm just going to call this A. What are the other coordinates? What are the coordinates of the other endpoint? So perhaps I'm getting a little bit wiser, but I'm just going to straight off write down xm is equal to xa plus xb divided by 2. Now this is not really hard to remember since it is just the average of the endpoints. The y-coordinate is going to be the average of the y-coordinates of my endpoints. So I'm just going to take xm and calculate xm. Now xm is equal to xa plus xb divided by 2. The reason why I wrote this formula over here is simply I just want to show you that it's really nice to work vertically in algebra. So what I get is negative 1, that was my x-coordinate of my midpoint, is equal to 3 plus xb divided by 2. If I multiply both sides by 2, I get negative 2 is equal to 3 plus I'm multiplying both sides by 2. I get negative 2 is equal to 3 plus xb. Now the reason why I can do that so fluidly is because I really asked myself here, why did I multiply both sides by 2? Because I would want to do the inverse operation of dividing by 2, or the opposite operation. And I know that if I do the opposite operation of the right-hand side, that's what makes the 2 disappear. So in other words, I know why I'm multiplying both sides by 2. Now I'm just going to finish this off for the x-coordinate. So I have negative 2 is equal to 3 plus xb. What I know is I could subtract 3 from both sides. And what I get is the x-coordinate of my other endpoint is 5. So I'm going to put a box around that, set myself up. Now, I'm going to work over here now, and I'm just going to say the y-coordinate of my midpoint is going to be ya plus yb divided by 2. Now, if you want, I could algebraically solve for yb, but I'm going to plug in the values instead. My y-coordinate of my midpoint is 5, is equal to, my y-coordinate for A is negative 11, and I'm going to find out the y-coordinate for B. If I multiply both sides by 2, 5 times 2 is 10. The right-hand side would be negative 11 plus yb. I do the inverse operation of negative 11, and that would be adding 11. So I'm going to add 11 to both sides. And there we have it. Here's my y-coordinate for the point B. So I get midpoint is going to be, my other endpoint, B, will have coordinates negative 5, 21. All right. Example number 7. The endpoints of a diameter of the circle. So the endpoints of the diameter of a circle. Here's a circle. I'm just going to draw it. The endpoints of a diameter are here and here. It doesn't matter where you draw the endpoints. If you want to put it on the Cartesian plane, you could. I'm just setting this up for myself. So here, I guess this would be C and this would be D. What is true about the diameter? Well, the diameter goes through the middle right? And if the diameter covers the whole distance, the radius then is going to be half the distance. So if I have 2 points that are the endpoints of the diameter, the center of this circle would be, well, what's exactly in the middle? The midpoint. And the distance, or the radius, is the distance or the length from the midpoint or the center of a circle to the edge, which would be r. All right, determine the coordinates of the center of the circle. Well, it's just really the midpoints of this. All right, so and you might have a tendency right now not to write out the formulas. I'm going to encourage you to really write out the formulas because it tells me what you're thinking. So I just noticed that my formulas in terms of A and B, well, really, all we have to change are just the subscripts. There we are. It wasn't that hard. There. So what I get are the x-coordinate for C is 5 plus x-coordinate for D is -1. I'm going to divide that by 2. The y-coordinate for C is 5. The y-coordinate for D is -3. And I'm going to divide that by 2. So I made a mistake, and I know that I need to add these. That's the mathematical operation that I'm doing. If I take a look at this, my midpoint, or my x-coordinate of my midpoint, or my center, it's mental math now. 5 plus -1 is 4. Divided by 2 is 2. Now, I'm going to say 5 plus -3 is 2. Divided by 2 is 1. So that is the center of the circle. If I wish to calculate the radius, how would you do it? Now, I'm not going to do it for you here, but there's 2 ways. Now that you got the center of the circle, you have the coordinates. You could calculate what is the distance or the length from 2, 1 to 5, 3. Or you could also ask yourself, what is the distance from the center to point D? That is also good. Alternatively, you could ask yourself, what is the distance from D to C? That gives you your diameter. And once you get the length of D to C, you would divide that quantity by 2 to get the radius.